This, folks, it's a brand new series. It's the finals for the Go for StarCraft Premium Monday Edition, sponsored, of course, by CM Storm. You're watching RiftyCast here at Base Trade TV. And before we even do introductions, guys, these are two DreamHack champions colliding in the finals. What an awesome series we're going to have to go through here. Spawning in the upper right corner of the map, the winner of DreamHack Bucharest 2012, it is Acer's Nurchio. And his opponent recently winning DreamHack Summer, it is none other than Mindsanity's Stardust, the Blue Protoss. And to speak on both of these players, Stardust is not a player I got to cast a lot. There was some time, a long time ago, with some North American events when he was still playing on Team Light that I got to cast him. Sadly, though, since that was Wings of Liberty, I can't say much of that really applies to his playstyle here in HOTS, because Stardust, guys, is a player that is the definition of breakout. He won DreamHack from nothing. He's a player that was always considered good but nothing great. But as we've seen here today, he's been displaying a lot of technical skill, some crazy mind gaming, combined with many other great tactics that have allowed him to get to where he is. But his opponent, of course, is no small fry. Acer's Nurchio, again, in my eyes, one of my favorite European Zerg players. You can say what you want about his personality, but his playstyle reigns supreme almost every single time. There are so few players I've seen beat this guy, especially in the finals. So Stardust has got to make sure he does not get cocky, does not get confident, and he's got to play this to his truest potential if he wants to win. Because Nurchio, of course, while Stardust has recently made a splash on the scene, Nurchio's been around for a while. He's been the king sitting on that throne of not just some of the weekly cups, but also, you know, had that earlier DreamHack win. Gonna go for a pylon block here. Curious enough, a lot of players don't actually go as far as dropping the pylons anymore, as often as kind of like, you know, whatever. One of my favorite openings, actually, I gotta say this, and I've done this several times on ladder since then. Okay, cancel the pylons. Good, you better cancel that pylon. Was this StarCraft Ascension's Lucky versus FXO Lucky. This is a VOD. I highly recommend you guys go look up on YouTube. We have it on our YouTube channel, mapcontrol.co, all that good stuff. But what he did was he opened what looked like was going to be a proxy gate, right? Like he pulled the worker off at 6 probes, all that stuff. He did one gate and did a Forge Fast Expand as kind of the follow-up. Although I guess you can't really call it a Fast Expand, but a Forge Expand as the follow-up, and used 3 Zealots to put on a lot of pressure. And in doing so, he delayed the natural and the third of his opponent by almost like 8 minutes while he was happily mining on 2 bases. So there's a lot of cool changes to this game that were not possible before, even though the tactics are not much different, that are now being performed by a lot of players. So if you're expecting standard out of these two guys, maybe for the late game. Big emphasis on maybe. But if anything goes down in the early game, I guarantee you Nurchio is going to come with a timing attack that Stardust is not ready for, or Stardust is going to push with some crazy sentries that maybe Nurchio is not ready for, who knows. Now, a cool thing too to note as well, there's an interview with Nurchio recently where he stated like he doesn't do a lot of practice outside of tournaments, like he finds his best practice comes from tournaments. Because, you know, this is a game where, you know, Stardust is going to be playing a lot harder here on a tournament scene than he will, like, say, randomly on the ladder just grinding games out. But Stardust has this small advantage of, you know, Nurchio's been around for a while. He's got to know his playstyle, and more importantly, he could have looked up many of the various replays that are out there because Nurchio always wins like Zotax, and those replays are very public information. Now, I doubt he probably took the time to study this as he jumped from game to game, and there wasn't time to look at it up in between, but I'm just saying, it's always a possibility, and that's kind of the scary thing of being the better-known player. There's always that slight disadvantage of the fact that, yes, you're better known, and that can bite you in the ass. But 3 hatcheries coming out of Nurchio. Perfect response to the early pylon block, but also because, yeah, the Forge Expand coming out of Stardust. The big curiosity for me will be what sort of mind games go on in this game, because mind games, you know, everyone knows like there's the Day 9 goofy mind games, and there's like the mind games you joke about, but there are some pretty standard ones as well. One of the, of course, most common ones in the PvZ matchup, especially on Derelict Watcher, is the Swarm Host versus Tempest versus Colossus versus Hydra Phoenix Meltdown. I guess I probably shouldn't colloquialize that. For those who don't know, a very common thing to do as a Protoss player is open with a Stargate, get some Phoenixes out. The Phoenixes then in turn force Hydras as a reaction from the Zerg player. Hydras then perfectly baited out, allow for Colossus to be produced, which then in turn produce Swarm Hosts and Corruptors, and you know the story from there. So when I talk about mind games, simple ones like that, which are very standard, are still often utilized. But I want to talk about this map actually, just to take a quick second while there's like some hunting going around here. Actually, I think... Oh, there was First Blood already. I missed it. Son of a gun! Well, you know what? We'll play it right here anyways. Oh, where's the sound effect? I can't get anything to go right.
First Blood.
There you go. I guess it just wasn't reset properly. But anyways, I want to talk about the map here. While Stardust is doing some really nice poke on these Lings, look at this map. This is such a good map for Zerg to take engagements on the ground. Most other maps, like take Neoplanet S for example, they will typically want, Zerg players going to be more inclined to do air on that map because of how difficult it is to get around with the ground forces. But every Zerg player you ask will tell you the perfect engage for them is a big, flat, open area, and that's what's available here. But Stardust pushing now with his 7-gate build. Got to turn these other ones into warp gates. There we go. And this is 7 gates off 2 bases. This, again, is a very dedicated attack, but nothing close to an all-in, because Stardust can reel back off of this thanks to the economy he's afforded. Now, actually picking out these Overlords is huge, as Nerchio is so supply blocked at the moment. These 2 Overlords being made are not enough. He's going to need more. And, oh, another Overlord available for the snipe. Coming in with these slow Lings from behind, though. Nerchio does not have speed on them. Will still be enough, though, to trap these Stalkers in. Roach is doing a ton of damage, but Stardust with a follow-up warp in should be able to deal with this. Again, these Lings do not have speed, guys. I can't emphasize how much that's hurting Nerchio right now. He can't quite get the positioning or the surround that he needs to. And these 2 Stalkers that got away probably wouldn't have in some other crazy world. Roach is still standing. He finally unsupply blocks himself, but again, he's reinforcing on 14 Lings that do not have speed. Stalkers can kite Lings off creep that do not have speed. That's how devastating that difference is. But Stardust supply right now is not where it needs to be. Nerchio's just got this huge swell of units that are about to pop, and the Spine Crawler actually manages to burrow in position. Nerchio with a great hold here off of pressure that could have and should have caused crippling damage with those Overlords supply blocking him as they did. But he will drive Stardust back, and Stardust is actually not looking very good off of this. Now, of course, Nerchio cannot really turn this around into like an instant win. Look at this. Oh, this is so cool. Stardust is actually focus firing down the Roaches because, of course, he doesn't have to worry about the Lings. They're not really going to do any damage because they can't catch the Stalkers. Pylon is going to finally get cleaned up here, but the drone count has suffered in the fact that Nerchio has not been droning happily off the 3 bases. He's stuck on 47 between the 3. He'll get back to droning as we see here. Now that he's confident that he can clean this up. But Stardust on the other side of the field, he was delaying his gas a little bit there. He dedicated a lot to that attack. And this... Oh! What? I missed this entirely. Hit a Pylon snuck up onto the high ground. Nerchio dancing around outside the main. Has to worry about this warp in. Still coming in here. Stardust with that ninja probe. I don't even know how he got this up here. Going to kill some more drones here in the mineral line. Roaches will clean this up, but the Stalkers are still a problem. Stardust still has 5 Stalkers dancing around here that are being microed oh so nicely. 1 health remaining on that Stalker as Stardust continues to just pick away at the north, at the south, and at the natural. Nerchio looks like he has finally cleaned this up, but man, talk about pressure coming out of Stardust. Only getting 6 workers for this, but look at the resources lost. Nerchio has lost a ton of units, and now this 3rd base does not have the Roach count to defend it. There's but a single Roach here, a couple Zerglings, sorry, 3 Roaches. They blend in with the creep because I am colorblind apparently. But either way, this looks really good. Now, we actually checked the bases here. Queen's still standing. He did lose a couple Queens, but made them immediately after, I guess, so not going to miss out on these injects. And Stardust now the one who is supply blocked. And of course, fighting with the gas cloud there, can't really deal with the Roaches too effectively. Going to come on back home and take an expansion behind this, but there's a Ling waiting. This will deny it. Oh, that's so annoying to have to deal with. But it's a slow Ling. Again, metabolic boost only just finishing up, the standard 12-minute metabolic boost. Now, I want to stress, guys, the delayed metabolic boost was not a mistake by Nerchio. In a ZVP matchup, when you're going for that sort of 3-base play, you typically will delay it, and some players will even sacrifice it if they're planning to go with Roaches or other tech beyond that. So, while it was late, and while it absolutely sucked for Nerchio, it's not like he was like, oh, duh, I'm an idiot, totally forgot. No, it was definitely intentional, if anything, to delay it, if not have it forgotten for so long. But 2 Stargates coming up for Stardust here. He has baited a lot of ground forces out of Nerchio, and quite frankly, Void Rays would rip this army apart. And we do have a Hydra Den coming out, so it's not going to be too scary. The Void Rays, of course, when in large numbers, deal with Hydras quite effectively, but low counts versus decent amounts of Hydralisks do not fare too well. Stardust coming in here to confirm what's going on. Sees a natural, a macro hatchery in the main. This is kind of a, I don't know, a very awkward scout, but he gets out without taking any real damage. Nerchio actually coming off creep, trying to enter. Oh, he's going to try to anticipate the pathing, I guess. Will just barely miss it. But man, I gotta say, like, a quick comment here to Nerchio. That was a really great hold. That was chaos and a half, and if you guys were wondering why I was fawning over Nerchio before the game even really got underway, that specifically is why. Okay, we got some Void Rays now on the field. Stardust trying to establish this 3rd base. The scary reality for him is, this 3rd base While not incredibly late, is much later than I think he needed to have on the field to be happy to contend with Inertio, but is that his third Stargate? Where's that third Stargate? He's going for 3 Stargates in production, guys. He is going to be going heavy on these Void Rays. He's even got air tech on the way here. And this is, you know, there's this push you can do with Protoss with like 5 Void Rays and a Mothership Core, where you actually snipe off an entire base and then recall back home, but oh, the Mothership Core getting picked off in the middle of the field. There are some Hydralisks pushing with this, but I fear it might not be enough. But of course, Stardust has got to hold these Void Rays back. He can't engage with just 3. The Hydras will shred them to bits. Roach is going to come in here. Nurture with a massive attack force that I don't think Stardust is quite ready for. Going to focus down the Hydras in the back. Does turn on the overcharge, of course. This does not do extra damage to Hydralisk, guys. They are considered light units, and Nurture is absolutely going to wipe out the third base here of Stardust, but Stardust should clean this up. He's got Void Rays and there's nothing left to attack. The main base has got that force field down. He's got another force field available, but it goes off a little bit too late. Zerglings do get in and surround the Stalkers. Third base has been completely taken out here. Stardust does not really know what to do. He's a little bit caught off guard, like, how and why does he have so many units? But meanwhile, he's gone offensive. He's actually gutted the third base of Nurtio and will counterattack and do third base damage as he takes it out, but the probes being held position. Nurtio is ripping through this wall. The Void Rays are doing what they can, but there's just so many roaches. He can't clean them up fast enough. Coming into the main here, going to snipe off this one Artosis pylon, powering every single gateway here. Well, actually, not the bottom 2, but still powering his way through here. He could actually snipe off the Nexus instead of Workers if he wanted to, but instead we'll focus on the probes. Not a bad choice. But both players taking pretty heavy losses, but Stardust cleaned up a lot easier than unfortunately Nurtio was, and Nurtio still with these roaches. The Void Rays are doing what they can, but this might have been enough economic damage that Stardust might not be able to recover, guys. He needed that third base. And coming across the field with another slam of just pure Hydrals. They don't have those muscular augments, but they don't need them. Stardust cannot engage with 5 Void Rays versus this many Hydralisks. He's going to warp in some Zealots. The Zealots, of course, need to tank that damage for him, but still, the damage might be... Yeah, he's even pulling probes to go with this. Of course, if Nurture just focuses down the Void Rays, guys, I think that's going to be a game. This could be it. The Hydras are now pushing in here. He's trying to hold. He's pulling every worker he has now. This is desperation at its finest, and Stardust, guys, despite that really aggressive push early on, is going to fall to these Hydralisks. Some great control out of Stardust as he tries to micro the low ones back, but they're all low is the problem. GG is called.